In an old video, I talked about a family event that marked a significant turning point in my life. The story began at my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, where my siblings unveiled a custom-painted family tree mural. It was a gift they had planned and my parents had approved. This mural included 112 names, everyone from cousins to the family dog, but mine was conspicuously absent. I didn't say a word. I just walked away and took quiet, deliberate action. 3 days later, a video clip I'd made was shared online, and my sister was calling her lawyer in a panic. This is a story about what it's like to be erased. The family tree reveal being erased isn't always a dramatic event. Sometimes it happens so quietly, you almost mistake it for politeness. The moment of truth happened in the dining room of my parents' house, where everyone had gathered for the big reveal. My brother called it that, as if we were about to see a new car. What was revealed was a hand-painted mural of our family tree, a gift from the children's which financially included me, but creatively did not. When I offered my input, my sister told me, "We've got it covered. Just chip in your third." And so I did, as I always had. The curtain fell with a flourish, and the crowd gasped. My dad laughed, my mom teared up, and my sister took a bow. Everyone clapped, because that's what you do when you're told you're witnessing something special. I have to admit, it was impressive. The tree was enormous, with sweeping branches, beautiful calligraphy, and gold accents. So many names were on icons, in-laws, babies, even the family dog Biscuit had a paw print. I have an excellent memory, which helps me recognize most of them, not because we're close, but because I've had to study my family to be tolerated. I smiled and clapped along. No red flags yet. I stepped closer, scanning the names. My older sister's name was there, big and bold, with pictures of her husband and twins. On the other side, my younger brother's name was under a scroll that read Regional Sales Manager. He sells appliances, but you'd think he invented electricity. I looked for my name next. It wasn't there. I didn't panic at first. It was a big tree after all. Maybe I was tucked away somewhere, or perhaps the artist used full legal names instead of my nickname. I checked again, methodically, but found nothing. I even checked the spouse clusters, just in case. Nope, I'm not married. But my cousin Emily isn't either, and she got her own leaf with a tiny watercolor of her rescue cat. I scanned all 112 names. Every single person in that room was on the wall except for me. For a moment, I wondered if I was blind or dreaming. I stared at the mural, trying to squint myself into existence, but it didn't work. The first thing I felt wasn't rage or sadness. It was embarrassment. That feeling of being both invisible and exposed, like your zipper is down and it's being live streamed. I didn't cry or ask questions. I just walked calmly to the bathroom and locked the door, needing a few minutes to process what had just happened. I sat on the closed toilet, staring at the floor, letting my brain sort through the data. The facts were simple. I had helped pay for a mural that included over 100 people. My siblings and parents had all approved it. Okay? In the weeks, even months, of planning, no one had thought to include me. Okay? Or worse, they had thought of it and decided not to. That's what really got to me, the intentionality. An oversight doesn't survive for drafts and a deposit. After a while, I realized I'd been in there for almost half an hour. No one had knocked or texted. No one had even noticed I was gone. I washed my face, dried it, and smoothed my hair. When I walked back out, the mural was still the center of attention. I walked over to the drinks table where my mother was standing, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Hey," I said. She turned, her expression cheerful. "Yes, sweetie." "Don't. You think something's missing from the mural?" She looked confused. "Missing who?" I asked. "Me?" There was a brief pause, a blink, and then she said, "Oh, that. We just didn't think you'd want to be on it. You're not really into this sort of thing, you know?" I just said, "Legacy," and she replied, "You know what I mean?" We figured you'd call it sentimental nonsense. From behind her, my dad snorted. And roll your eyes. I nodded once. That was it. They knew. They'd seen the final version, they'd approved it, and they were fine with it. I said nothing else. I just turned, walked to the front door, and left. No one tried to stop me or followed me. I got in my car and drove, not home, but to a place where I could begin my quiet, careful work. 3 days later, they would see my name somewhere they weren't expecting, and this time, they wouldn't be able to erase it. Understanding the posthum autistic. I didn't always have the word for it, but I always knew I was something people didn't want. I used to think of myself as a broken appliance. I looked normal on the outside, but something inside didn't work the way it was supposed to. I was constantly told I had said the wrong thing, or people would laugh when I wasn't joking, or a room would go quiet as if I had ruined something invisible. Most of my life was spent pretending I wasn't autistic, long before I even knew the word existed. Childhood was a long experiment in how to pass for someone who belonged. I grew up in a large, loud, and performative extended family that loved surprise parties and family games, all things I quietly dreaded and worked hard to hide. From a young age, I knew I was the wrong kind of different, and this message came, loudest from inside my own home. One of my earliest memories is telling my aunt that her new haircut was uneven. I thought I was being helpful. She'd asked what I thought, and I answered directly as I was taught. My mom pulled me aside and told me I was rude and ungrateful. My dad said I needed to learn tact, or I'd never have friends. I was grounded for 2 weeks. 6 months later, my brother told the same aunt she looked like a pink sheepdog, and everyone laughed. That was the theme of my childhood. My siblings, Jake and Elise, were the golden kids. They were social and expressive, Elise especially. Could say or do almost anything and be seen as charming. When I tried to copy her, I was told I was trying too hard. I was, but not in the way they thought. I was trying to figure out how to exist around them without being corrected, laughed at, or ignored. Jake would bark at me like a dog, and Elise would mimic my voice in a high-pitched whine, saying things like, "Technically, it's not accurate to say that." My parents saw all this and even laughed along. I never heard them say, "Hey, stop mocking your sister." So I started trying to fix myself. I wasn't doing it for fun or to get better at networking. I was desperate. I had shelves of books on communication, social skills, and body language. I studied them like I was training for a test. 3 seconds of eye contact, then look away. Smile when greeting, nod occasionally, ask questions. Don't interrupt, don't correct. I practiced in the mirror and recorded myself. And still, at every family gathering, I was the one off to the side, too quiet, too intense, not fun enough. I'd sit at the kids' table even when I was 16 because no one made room for me at the adults' table. When I did try to join in, they would ask, "Why are you acting like that?" I was trapped. If I was myself, I was a problem. If I masked, I was weird. Either way, I lost dot in school. I excelled academically. Science and programming made sense. Cells and logic didn't care if I made the wrong face. I got a full ride to university for biology and computer science, earned my PhD. And now work in research, making more money than anyone else in my family. But no one ever brings that up except when a big family gift needs to be paid for. Then, it's always, "Can you chip in a little more? You're doing so well." And I always did, hoping that, this time, it would count for something. I first started suspecting I was autistic when I was 25. I was reading a forum about social burnout in women, and saw post after post that felt like my inner monologue had been stolen. Women were talking about masking, never feeling natural, and being exhausted after parties. I felt not just seen, but called out. So I dug deeper, read articles, and took online assessments, scoring off the charts. I found a specialist, did a full assessment, and after hours of questions, I got the formal diagnosis: autism spectrum disorder. I tried to tell my family, My mom laughed. "You're not autistic, Joanna. You just don't like parties." My dad said, "You're too smart to be autistic." Jake said, "Oh, so now we're supposed to walk on eggshells." And Elise, my sister who built a brand around neurodivergent inclusivity, smiled and said, "You've always liked labels." This is the same sister who commissioned a mural with 112 names on it and left mine off. They didn't forget me. They didn't overlook me. They erased me. If I hadn't walked into that room and seen that wall, I might have spent another decade trying to fix myself, believing that if I just tried harder, they'd let me belong. But now, I know they never wanted me to, and I'm done trying to earn it. The aftermath I didn't scream or demand answers. I didn't call anyone to explain how hurt I was. I just stopped answering. I muted the family group chat, archived the messages, and turned off read receipts. I unplugged from the machine I had been powering my entire life. The first thing I cut was the money. I wasn't trying to make a point. I was simply done. I canceled the automatic transfer for my parents' property tax, which they had never acknowledged but clearly depended on. I withdrew my contribution to our family events fund, which had slowly become Joanna Covers What We Forgot. I declined the Venmo request from Elise for floral arrangements she had already ordered on my behalf. I stopped paying for people who didn't think I belonged to them. No. One notice for the first week. The group chat buzzed with party pictures. Then someone brought up a missing birthday deposit for our cousin Lily's daughter. "Jake, did anyone cover Joanna's part?" It bounced. Elise said she probably just forgot. "Can one of you follow up with her? She might be overwhelmed again." Overwhelmed was their favorite word for me. Not excluded or betrayed, just overwhelmed. As if I had tripped over my own shadow. A few days later, Elise sent me a voice note. "Hey, so I know things have been a little weird, but I just wanted to check in. We really missed you after the party. I know you've been sensitive lately, but you know we love you, right? Like, obviously you're important to the family. 'Kay, let me know if you're okay. Also, if you could send your third for Lily's gift today, that would be amazing. No pressure." I didn't respond. The next day, she sent a passive-aggressive, just circling back email. I deleted it. Then came the guilt parade. My mom left a voicemail, her voice full of panic. "Joanna, sweetheart, I don't know what's going on, but this isn't like you. You've always been so generous and dependable. I know the mural was complicated, but we were just trying to do something special. Please don't let this ruin the whole family dynamic." She called it the family dynamic, not what they did, but my reaction to it. They didn't get it because they didn't want to. I wasn't angry. Anymore, I was just not available. I had energy again, the kind that shows up when you stop pouring your worth into people who only see you as a resource. Around that time, I received an email from a conference organizer. The keynote speaker had dropped out of a neurodivergence and mental health summit, and someone had seen a blog post I'd written. They asked if I'd be willing to speak. At first, I almost deleted it. I'm not a public speaker, but then I thought maybe that's the point. So I said yes. I spent a week writing an honest talk. I opened with a story about a girl who always brought extra cupcakes. Paid for pizza, took on the planning, always helpful, but always just outside the circle. I told them how she once read 13 books on social skills by the age of 12, hoping they would teach her how to stop making people uncomfortable. I told them how she got a PhD, bought a house, gave generously, and smiled politely, never making waves, just quietly chipping in until one day she helped pay for a family tree mural with 112 names on it. Hers wasn't one of them. The talk was live streamed. By morning, the clip had over 60,000 views. Comments poured in, with some pointing out that this sounded a lot like the family of a particular fashion designer. I didn't say a word, but I didn't have to. Then something I didn't expect happened. They sued me. I should have seen it coming. The lawsuit came via courier, filed by my sister's company for reputational damages. Apparently, publicly excluding your autistic sibling is fine until the public notices. Her brand was already taking a hit. People started reposting clips from my talk with captions like, "She paid for the mural. Her name wasn't even on it." It's funny how some inclusive brands only include people who make them look good. Partnerships went silent. A model and an influencer backed out. Suddenly, the sister who stood for neurodivergence was being asked why she couldn't even stand next to it. So she sued me, claiming I had created a misleading narrative and had orchestrated a targeted reputational attack. She even added emotional distress, which I found adorable. I hired a good lawyer. She asked if I had named her in the talk or lied about anything. The answer to both was no. We built a careful case with bank transfers proving I paid. Screenshots of the group chat, a digital guest list of 112 people, and a high-erase photo of the mural. The kicker was an email from Elise's assistant that said, "We left Joanna off." Elise thought it would be simpler. The trial was short. Elise showed up in a beige power suit looking like the wronged woman, with my parents behind her. My lawyer asked me to tell my story. I explained how I contributed financially, wasn't included in the planning, and wasn't on the tree. The mural photo went up on a screen. The judge squinted. "Biscuit?" he asked. "Our family dog," I said. "Deceased." But included, the judge looked at his notes and then at me. "Your name isn't there?" "No," I said, "it's not." The air in the room shifted. A dead dog made the tree, but I didn't. Lisa's lawyer tried to claim the mural was symbolic. But my lawyer zoomed in on the details, the nicknames, the dates, the gold-foiled acorn under Jake's name that read first. "To own a home? Symbolic?" she asked, "or selectively thorough?" The jury didn't need much more. The case was dismissed and Elise was ordered to pay all legal costs. After that, things unraveled fast. Her company lost 2 key investors, then faced a lawsuit. From a former employee, her brand folded. Within months, my parents quietly sold their house and moved into a modest condo. I wasn't the only reason, but I was the missing plug in a system that only worked when I was too tired to say no. I found out about their move from an email I wasn't meant to see. Their new address was listed, along with a note about who was bringing potato salad to Thanksgiving, an event I wasn't invited to. Finding my own path, I expected to feel triumphant, but I didn't. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was clinging to the edge of a family, trying to earn a spot that didn't exist. I wasn't shrinking myself to be likable or checking to see who was watching. I was just me, free, unapologetic, home. I met someone, a biochemist who also hates small talk and loves fossilized sea creatures. He doesn't flinch when I say exactly what I mean, doesn't call me cold when I don't fake a smile, doesn't try to fix me when I get overwhelmed. He just asks, "Want quiet or company?" Sometimes we sit in total silence for hours, and it's the loudest peace I've ever known. I used to think that if I could just be kind enough, helpful enough, and polished enough, my family would finally see me. But now I don't need to be seen by people who only looked at me when I was useful. I see myself, and that's enough. It's been a few years now. I went to real therapy, the kind where you get to ask, who am I when I'm not performing for survival? Unmasking wasn't a quick switch. It was a slow, weird, uncomfortable process. Like taking off a costume and realizing you've never actually looked in the mirror before. There were days I missed the mask because it kept things predictable, but now I don't live in it. Sometimes, I still have to use it like emotional sunscreen, but most of the time, I get to be myself fully and without apology. I'm engaged now to someone who sees me not the polished version, not the edited one. He sees me and he loves that version, which is still wild to say out loud. I haven't spoken to my family since the lawsuit, and I don't plan to. I used to think I couldn't survive without their approval. It turns out I was barely surviving with it. Now I'm happy, not because everything's perfect, but because I'm no longer trying to prove I deserve to exist. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. Or was I finally just far enough?